And we are delighted that the Hall of Famer Rick Pitino can join us on the phone. Coach, thank you for doing this. And let's start with this. The last time you were in my studio, you told me that you were done coaching college basketball. You sounded quite certain you never would again. What changed?
Well, I was partially right. It took almost 3 years to get back into it. I felt that after the Southern District of New York came out and mentioned me in a complaint, that it would be years before they would go to trial. So I was partially right. It did take years to go to trial. And then at the trial, person after person under oath exonerated me, saying the dad, Adidas reps, saying I had no knowledge of what was going on. They kept it from me. And then all of a sudden, colleges started to call me again, and interest started picking up. Spoke to some people, and then Iona came calling, and that was the perfect fit.
I want to get to the Iona piece of that in a moment, but let's start with the first part, which is, I saw you said in an interview just in the last couple of days that you felt that you were deserved to be fired. It said you deserved to be fired by Louisville, even though there was no wrongdoing. What did you mean when you said that?
Well, what I meant by that is after the dormitory situation, where the first thing, the most important thing is I've had over 30 assistant coaches move on, and they've all done it the right way. Guys like just locally, Kevin Willard, Ralph Willard, his dad, Mick Cronin at UCLA, Tubby Smith, so many outstanding coaches that have done it the right way. Billy Donovan now with the Thunder, and Jim O'Brien, who was with the Sixers. They've all done it the right way, and I have to be responsible for who I've hired because for many years, I've gotten a lot of accolades for the people that have moved on and become head coaches. And then the last 2 or 3 hires, they were a mistake. But those 3 hires were mentored and tutored about the rules the same way the other guys were. They were all told to be totally compliant. They were all educated on the rules. And a few chose the wrong path. I have forgiven them for that. I don't think they're bad people. They just made mistakes, as we all do in the game of life. But that being said, it's a tough business, and you've got to do it the right way. And I'm the leader, and if they didn't do it the right way, then I've got to take responsibility for that. So I've got no problem with Louisville firing me over that. The second thing that happened with the Adidas situation, that shouldn't even have come up. I shouldn't even have been mentioned with that. The only problem I have with Louisville, it's not firing me. The only problem I have is they took the best athletic director in the business, a man who built over $300 million worth of facilities, took him from Conference USA to the Big East and then to the ACC, and built, as I said, $300 million worth of athletic facilities. He was fired because he would not terminate me. And that's the tragic part of the whole thing. That man is a great man, a great athletic director. He just refused to give in and fire me, and they should have looked past that and just fired me.
Tom Jurich is the man you're talking about there from Louisville. Let's talk quickly about the NCAA, because as you say, you move on. Do you expect to hear from them? What do you expect the NCAA to do now that you are back in college basketball?
I've already met with them before I went to Greece. In my New York City apartment, I met with them and was very transparent, very honest, and told them about everything. And they know what I'm all about. During that dormitory situation, they interviewed 80 different people that all said the same thing, and that's why my athletic director stuck by me, that I had no knowledge, and if I did have knowledge, that person would have been in serious trouble. So they know what I'm all about. They know they also have kept me out of basketball for 3 years because anybody who would call them, they would say, look, we're not done with our process of interviewing people. And I've been out of the business for 3 years because of that. So I don't expect any repercussions from the NCAA regarding me. I've been transparent with them as well as Iona College. Iona College has also done their due diligence.
So let's then talk about Iona. You said at the beginning of this conversation that your phone was ringing. Sounds like you had other opportunities. What made Iona the right place for you right now?
Well, I was looking a year ago. I almost went back into it at Holy Cross. Holy Cross people contacted me and said, would I be interested? I was looking for a Providence College type situation. I was looking for a small Catholic school. I was looking for something close to home. it's more about what takes place outside the lines now than what takes place between the lines. So I was looking to go home to my friends, to my family, to the place where I grew up. Iona was absolutely the perfect fit. The president of Iona, I happen to know. That was something. He knew me, I knew him, and that also was a perfect fit.
There's a lot of history there, obviously. A lot of legendary names have coached at Iona. I would be remiss if I did not mention, however, that those of us who are my age, remember you when you were the coach of the Knicks once upon a time, and that is also in your hometown. And they also right now have an interim coach. If the right NBA job were to come along at some point, is that something you would still entertain?
No, I'm locked in, and I say this, it's almost comical to me, the contract I signed, because they demanded it, and I said, don't you believe that I'll stay? It's at my age, and they said, no, we don't. And the president laughed at that. It was sort of a joke. But I have a buyout, Mike, that it would take Fort Knox University for somebody to hire me. So it's so bizarre. So I don't even want to mention the amount because it's so ridiculous. But I'm totally committed for my 5 years to Iona College. I want to build it, continue the unbelievable work that Tim Cluse did, and just build it to a level that we'd all really, really be satisfied with, and also that Iona College will grow to a level that they never thought they could get to, possibly.
While I have you, I'd like to ask you quickly about two other sort of bigger picture topics. One of them is in this extraordinary time in which we are living right now with the coronavirus. As you are well aware, so many athletes in the NCAA did not get the opportunity to finish their seasons this year. And there are a lot of people who are suggesting those athletes should get a fifth year. It sounds like the NCAA is on board with that, but there will be complications. What are your thoughts on the notion of the players who didn't get to play in the tournament getting another year of eligibility?
Well, the only problem is, who's in the tournament. They never got to that point. I think if they would have gone forward and said who was in, but they couldn't do that because the conference tournaments weren't played. So who do you give a fifth year to? For instance, my son at Minnesota, his team was starting to play better with a blowout game against Northwestern. They were going to play Iona where they took them to the wire. And let's say that they become tournament eligible. Do you include them in on that? So it's difficult to say which teams would get in. I think you're going to have to make it a blanket for everybody to get a fifth year.
Correct. And so would you be in favor of that? Because we're talking also about all of the spring sports that never got a chance to play practically any of their seasons at all. We're talking about baseball and softball and gymnastics and things like that. Just generally speaking, do you think all these athletes should just get another year, another chance?
Well, let's take the flip side. Who does it hurt by giving them another year? It hurts no one. And that's the good thing. Anytime you make a decision based on there's no harm by giving everybody another year, it only helps the young people. So then I'm all for it.
Fair. I've heard a lot of people say that. One more for you, if I could. Coach K and many others have been talking about a desperate need in college basketball for some sort of central leadership that they feel does not currently exist. We're seeing young star high school players going overseas to play in a few cases here. We're seeing the NBA beefing up the G League to be more of a realistic option. Just with those as the backdrop, what are your thoughts right now on the state of college basketball?
Well, I agree. So much of the rules are being governed by lower division, for many, many years, by lower Division I coaches as well as Division II coaches, rather than the upper-level Power 5 coaches being involved. Maybe just even saying a 24-second clock, for instance. A Division II and a lower Division I doesn't want that. But a Power 5 conference person would want a 24-second clock. So he's right in theory. I think that college basketball needs a drastic overhaul. I can just tell you from what I went through. It needs a drastic overhaul. The shoe companies, the agents, everybody has infiltrated shoe companies. Shoe companies have infiltrated AAU programs. There is a portion of society where people do it the wrong way. That doesn't mean that shoe companies do it the wrong way or AAU coaches do it the wrong way. But anytime you have different entities infiltrating college basketball, there's a percentage of each that will do it the incorrect way. So we have to definitely give athletes the right to use their likeness. I'm for athletes having shoe contracts. Now, the universities will argue, well, we have our own shoe contracts, so the athletes can't do that. But if you want to keep players in college basketball and away from the EuroLeague, away from going to Australia, away from going to China, away from going to the G League that's going to beef up their salaries, you have to give them some incentives to stay. If you don't, it's really going to look a lot different. You're not going to see any billion-dollar television contracts anymore if you don't change.
And it'll be interesting to see college basketball moving forward and with you in it. Again, the Hall of Famer Rick Pitino, now the coach at Iona College. Rick, thank you very much for doing this. You and your family stay safe through this crazy time, and I look forward to seeing you when you get to town. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports, highlights, and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.